Welcome to the early webinar. Now, Andy, it's over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia, and welcome everybody to today's webinar with LE Publishing. I'm Andy Cowle, and I just quickly want to make sure people can hear me and that you can see what I see on my screen, and then we'll get going. And this is for everybody, okay? It doesn't matter whether you're teaching primary or secondary or adult, and it doesn't matter whether you're teaching vocabulary or grammar. We're going to do as much as we can to really squeeze as much as we can out of a couple of books today to show how picture dictionaries, I find as a teacher, are vital, not some luxury on the shelf that teachers hope the students will look at. I want to use them alongside everything I do. I always did. I love pictures, and we know as teachers that visuals are a key part of what we do. Just quickly, can I, Sylvia, can you do the poll to see if teachers could tell us if you're a primary teacher or a secondary or you're teaching adults? Maybe you do both or three things, but pick the main one, primary, secondary or adult teaching. Can we show the poll? Is that possible?
Would you mind stopping sharing your screen first?
Yep, okay.
Thank you.
So we're going to try and do a poll here to see.
Give me a second.
That's okay. So I want to know who is my audience today. We have about 160 people. Which school sector do you teach? Are you in pre-primary, primary, secondary or adults? And just quickly tick one box, and then after 30 seconds we'll see what the breakdown is of you beautiful teachers in my audience today, so I can maybe think a little bit more about the focus if there is one. All right, it's voting. It's very exciting over here. I'm talking to you from Scotland, where I live in Glasgow. I'm English because people sometimes wonder, how can you be in Scotland without a Scottish accent? I don't know why everybody tells me that, but I'm a proud northern boy from England living in Scotland. Right, has everybody voted? Well, not voted.
Not yet.
Okay, 10 more seconds to vote. Are you a primary teacher? Are you a secondary teacher? Or do you teach adults? Just so I can see who is in my audience and I can maybe help you more specifically.
Okay, we do have 83% of
That's
teachers.
Good enough. Good enough. What's the result there, Sylvia?
So 60% secondary, 20% adults, 20% pre-primary and primary. Okay,
so the majority of you are secondary teachers, and so 60% of you are secondary and 20% teaching adults and 20% primary. It doesn't matter. I'd just like to know, obviously, in an audience, we put up our hands and we all group together accordingly, because on a workshop in a physical classroom or a conference room, we'd all get together and help each other within the age groups, but that's okay. And I'm also going to try and think about what we can do online with what we have. So I'm going to just get rid of my screen here so that I can only see my slides. Now in the chat, there are two things I want to do. You can chat if you wish. I'll try and see the things in the chat, but if you have a question, please put it in the questions area. So if you can see on this webinar platform, there's a few things in the menu. If you go to questions and put your question there, every so often I'm going to try to remember to stop and look at the question and answer it. And at the very least, I'm going to stop at the end and answer the questions. If you put a question in the chat, sometimes I miss these things because I'm busy watching the screen. And you know what it's like teaching online now. Sometimes the chat moves and it's hard to see what the questions and issues are. But I don't think I'm going to explain anything really difficult today. I think it's just, you know, to show how I would use pictures from picture dictionaries in typical class situations. And you can help me and you can think about how that would work for you. But just to make sure you can all hear me and there is a response from the audience, could you please put into the chat the country from which you are watching. Okay, which country are you in today as you watch? I'll put in Scotland because I'm in Scotland, and now you know. Oh, that's to the organisers. Make sure you send it to everybody. Organised and panelists only. Right. How do I send it to everybody, Sylvia? Can people chat to everybody?
Nope. Teachers cannot see the other teachers' answers, I'm afraid, but you can have an overview of everyone's. You should check the questions box, not the chat one, okay?
Okay.
If you look at the question box, you can actually see lots of answers coming in.
Actually, I can't, but let me have a look. That's interesting.
Not the chat box, the questions,
No.
remember?
Actually, I can't see any questions in my chat box. That's interesting. Why can't I see that?
No, you should check
maybe
your...
if I share my screen, I can maybe.
You should check your questions box, not your chat box.
Well, it doesn't matter, teachers. At the moment, I'm afraid I can't. I actually am looking in the questions box, and I can't see anything in the questions box at the moment. I don't know why. I'll carry on for now. Won't waste any time. But I do wonder why that.
Do you want me to read some of the answers?
Yes, please.
So I've got here from Argentina, Panama, Moldova, Saudi Arabia, Croatia, Peru, Italy, Tuscany in particular, Bologna.
Fantastic.
Lots from Italy, France.
Wow. And I tell you what, I won't go on anymore, but it is quite mouth-watering as a list of countries I'd normally try to visit during my time when we're not locked down, but that's coming, and I will come back, I hope, to many of those countries to talk about materials and how to get the most out of our materials as creative teachers for any age group. I don't know why, but at the moment I can't see any questions, so I'll have to ask Sylvia to keep an eye on those when I stop and ask for a quick summary or regrouping. So today's session is on, first of all, Sylvia, can you tell me if people can put yes if they can see the first slide, which says today and 2 book covers? Can you see that?
Yes, perfectly.
All right. Okay. Well, today I'm going to show some examples from these 2 books from Ellie, which I always carry in my bag, actually. Sometimes I don't need to because I have my iPad, but I always carry these books in my bag like a teacher. I used to be a teacher, and these are the sort of things I have just in case I need to bring in something new, or just to really simplify the lesson right down to visual basics for grammar, for vocabulary. I think it's often a misunderstanding that picture dictionaries are only for vocabulary, but that's not true at all, and I hope to show you why. And I'm going to send you some links at the end, or certainly in the PDFs of my slides. All of these slides will be available to everybody at the end, and here is just the sort of information you'd see at ellieonline.com, which is the website for all the materials. And I work as a consultant and trainer with Ellie Publishing, based in Italy, or they're based in Italy. I'm in Scotland. And you can see there we're going to be looking at 2 kind of levels, and then work with as much visual content as possible. Now, this is not a mistake. This next slide, could you tell in the chat if you understand German? All right. And I hope there's not many people, but it doesn't matter. Sylvia, can you tell me what the teachers are saying? Do you understand German, yes or no?
Well, most of them just say no, but some of them actually, yes. Just a few. Good. Just a few teachers.
Good. So how do you feel, teachers, when you look at this page? All right. Lesson 52 with Andy. German, Deutsch macht Spaß, from Ellie's Deutsch ist fantastisch. How do you feel looking at that page? That's interesting. I can't see any chat. What responses are we getting, Sylvia?
Yeah, we got scared, sad, lost, frustrated, overwhelmed. I feel frustrated, puzzled, confused.
Great. What a wonderful impact. What a great start to the presentation. I've terrified the audience and lost them, and I've frustrated them, and you're all sad. Great. Because that's what we have to remember when we are giving students what we think is pretty easy. And for me, German is easy because you don't know this, but I studied German. I lived in Germany. I was an English teacher in Germany, and I have taught German. So this page is like looking at English for me. It's just really easy, and it looks quite well designed. It's got pictures, and yet you all feel lost. And I only show this so that we remind ourselves as teachers just what it's like to see something which we think is easy, and we've also prepared it. Remember, we've looked at this page, we've thought about the lesson, and we just have to remember this is what it can look like to many students. Of course, some students will be better than others, but I just want to show that page as a reminder, because if I show a typical example of an English course book, now you feel good again. You know, this is something on holidays. It's got some photographs. You can see there's some presentation of vocabulary and some texts to show the modeling of language. You don't have to read the slide too much, just the idea of how it looks to you. And here's another one, you know, holidays, some pictures to activate vocabulary. And you know how this works. When we have a lesson, you show the book, we look at some pictures, we try to get students warmed up, don't we? We don't dive in cold. We just, you know, use the pictures, and then we do some reading, we do some questions. But at the end of the day, it's still a course book, isn't it? And, you know, you can be a great teacher, but at the end of the day, if we spend too much time on the course book, in the end, we reduce English to just this series of exercises and texts, and it can really make the lesson quite dry. And so apart from it being overwhelming, students will also feel this is just, you know, academic English, when we really want English to be fun. Why? Because it's motivating then, and then we can also make them see that English is for real life, not just to pass tests in a course book, okay? So let me just quickly go back. That's how they feel. Now imagine that actually, Urlaub am Strand, that in German, that means holiday by the beach or holiday on the beach, okay? And you probably would have guessed from the pictures, but nothing else. So what I would do there, in fact, these picture dictionaries from Ellie are in German and Italian and Spanish. So if you do teach other languages, it's not just for English. But what I would do, I would start with this. I've gone to one of my picture dictionaries. You'll see in the PDFs later, when you get this series of slides, you'll see which book I've used. But instead of doing a lesson where we're starting with a holiday, boom, okay, boom, you think, you know what, I'm going to warm them up, literally here on a hot beach. And I would sort of just show a picture. Now these books, this is the great news about the digital age, and even being in lockdown and home schooling or remote teaching, these are available digitally. And if you buy the books, you get free access to the digital option. I'll mention this later, but for now, look at this picture, okay? Look at the picture and try to remember as much as you can while I drink my tea for 15 seconds. How much can you remember? Because I'm going to make the picture disappear. So memorize the picture. What can you remember? All right. Can you feel the warm air? The sand in your toes, the cool water, the smell of the blood of the sharks coming? Never mind. No. Okay. Look at the seagull. Wow, huge. Okay, ready? So that's me. I stopped sharing it. Okay. Now, you don't have to look at me, but if you have any pen and paper, quickly write down in about 30 seconds how many things you can remember from the picture. Or you can put into the chat or the question boxes, and Sylvia can tell me what you remember. What are we seeing, Sylvia? Are we seeing words come up?
You can see umbrella, starfish, sea core, palm tree, jellyfish, 3 children, men on a surfboard, people swimming.
Okay,
I
great, guys.
use quite a
Yeah.
few things, I would say.
Okay. And now, and as a teacher, you know, this is something I can just show the students on the screen. And then, of course, another thing I could do is ask the students could they work together? Okay. If they're working remotely, maybe you could put them into groups and they can try and remember the composition of the picture. Where were the trees? Where were the swimmers? What did they see on the beach? Could they recreate with a drawing, you know, and then start to label it? And then they could post the pictures on your screen, your platform collaboration tools like Google Docs, or maybe you have another way of sharing pictures, maybe just through WhatsApp. You know, whatever the ways are that you share the information and words and ideas and pictures the students are sending, this is a way to maybe collaborate with them. But what we ultimately want to do is see what they remembered from the picture. Hopefully you can see the picture again now. Can you?
Yes.
Okay. And now the students feel a sense of relief. Ah, yeah, that's okay. Now, if you really want to make it challenging, when you hide the picture, you could say to them, did you remember how many parasols were there? What color are the shorts with the swimmers? How many people were on the beach? I mean, you can make this a real memory game, and so on. And of course, why do that? Well, then I can move to a bit more on vocabulary. That's my can you remember game. So you hide the picture, and that's when I can take the whole page from the book. So this comes from the book, which is called Ellie Vocabulary in Pictures. And what I've done here is I've taken the page. Now the page looks like this. You can see all the words are there. All right, nice, lovely image from a picture dictionary with the sort of objects you see on the beach in summer. But what I did was I simply, you know, with a bit of copying and pasting, I just copied a bit of white space from my with my snipping tool on your computer, and then I just covered them all up in my slideshow. Here I did it in PowerPoint, or you can do it on a Word document, and you can see I just made that. That took me like, I don't know, 2 minutes, because what I've done then is I've gone from this to this, because what I could do is say, look, we've done the beach, okay, there were 2 swimmers, well done. There were palm trees, yes. There are, okay. There are. Are there any palm trees? Is there a shark? No, there isn't. You've got some there are. Just very simple. Yeah, this looks like beginner lesson, but it doesn't have to be. But what I could do then is say, okay, guys, let's brainstorm. What other objects would you expect in this scene on the beach? All right, and then they would predict, you know, in the chat, or you can ask for students to decide, and hopefully you'd get things like this. And this isn't really an English test. What I want them to do is really be in the situation, you know, and think about the words and the scene, and, you know, and then, I mean, you could give this as a flipped learning classroom activity. So you could give them this, send it to them, and see if they can look up the words in their dictionaries online. They can maybe put their own language next to it. You know, you could put your own first language and then slowly build up your own picture dictionary, you know, or with the younger students, or I don't care, they could be older. Could they really redraw that scene? Now, all of this is very lively and very active, and it looks like I'm just teaching the vocabulary, but in a way I am, but I'm also getting ready for this kind of unit. Do you see what I mean? Now, we're not going to do this page, but you can see the difference between jumping in cold with a couple of pictures there at the top, which is fine, but I never think that any course book is enough, really. We have to be more creative, and I just think if I open the students' book here and they have to work with those pictures and then read, I'm thinking they're not really in the feeling of being on holiday. I want them to feel it, you know? So I think pictures will create a scene, then we can build more vocabulary, and they are more than warmed up to do a very traditional coursebook unit. So that's one way to, if you will, break the ice of the coursebook. And so you go back. Here's another example. I've taken an example here from Merry Team, which is a primary course. And again, a very typical unit where we're looking at classroom language, items in the classroom. And here in this book, there's always a cartoon strip. So if you're a primary teacher now, you could look at this. But I think, you know, the kids at any age need to know vocabulary for the classroom. So what do? Well, luckily, this page has got a very nice kind of clear image of the classroom. However, that's not enough for me. I think I want to get the students to think about more things. So again, I could go back to that page and they can identify book and notebook and ruler. This is all vocabulary, of course. I can do questions like, is there a book? Yes, there is. The book is red. Yes, true. The book is blue. No, false. So either students could, they could tell you, or you could do this thing where you can make statements. All right, get my pen here. And you could get the students to make true. Sylvia, can you see my pictures here? Yeah, true.
Yes, I can. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So you have the students all on their cameras. They can see you, and you say the pencil case is on the table on the desk, and all the students have to show true. The school bag is also on the desk, and they say, oh, that's false. All right. So there we have a way of just getting the students to make sure they're paying attention, who's following it. And I'm saying, again, brainstorm. What else is in the classroom? Or what do you have on your desk or in your school bag? And that's where we can start to elicit from the class, from your group, more vocabulary there. So we're not just giving them new words and translating them. We're using a picture dictionary to bring more vocabulary into the course book. And I agree, by the way, that maybe this is too much at the beginning, but there is a place for adding more vocabulary once you started the unit. I think with the holiday one, that probably could happen earlier. You might do this at the next stage of the lesson to build up the vocabulary. We don't want to overwhelm them. But here's an activity here. What could we do here? Well, here we could do something called what's missing. So have a look at the picture. All right. And then I'm going to show you the picture again. And then the students have to decide what is missing. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. All right. So who knows what's missing? Are we getting any answers out there? What's missing? Can anyone remember?
I cannot see anything on the chat box, I'm afraid. Okay, the book.
All right. Yes. So
Take
here it is.
dispenser.
What's missing? Here's the original picture. Here's the original picture. Now, what is missing? Can anyone say what's missing? What can you see, Sylvia?
The ruler, the orange book, the glue.
Okay, here's the answer. The answer is the book. All right. And all you do is you take this page from your digital book, okay, and I can show you how to do that. And then you copy it and paste a blank piece of white over it, and you've hidden it. And the students can make this game too. If you send them the image, they'll have access to the book too, if they want it, and they can make the same activities. Or let's have another one here. So there's the original. I'm going to hide another picture, another object from the picture. Are you ready? This is the original picture. If I hide an object, what's missing now? Can anyone remember? Can anyone see what's missing now? Any ideas out there? Sylvia, what can you see from anybody?
Pencil.
What's missing? Correct. Correct. Oops. There you go. You can see that the pencil was missing. And all I did was copy and paste a little white space over the pencil to hide it. And that's a little simple way of getting the students engaged, watching, and it's very hard to do that with a course book. If I go back to the course book, you know, it's a little harder. And the other thing about a course book, which we need to use, is if you're starting off too much with this, there's a sense of, it's hard to know where the fun could be. How can you make them continue watching? Well, I want to make sure they're engaged. Are they following? Can they see what's missing? And there's the pencil back again. And then you could say to the students, why don't you go and find as many of these things as you can? So, for example, with the students, you could say, okay, guys, you've got 5 minutes. I will leave a picture like this on the screen. In 5 minutes, can you come back with as many of these things as possible? And then they put them on their desk, okay? And then to prove it, they could either move their camera around or they could take a picture, all right? So that's another activity there where you're actually, you know, doing that go and find thing. It's become very popular. As soon as people were teaching remotely, we realized actually we can make the use of the student's own home environment. And so here's one, what am I doing here? Here's a unit from a book called Flash, which is looking at rooms in the house. Again, it's doing what a course book has to do. It shows a dialogue here, it shows a little map, vocabulary, great. So again, before I lose my students in, you know, fairly necessary exercise work and language building, let's go and find a picture dictionary. And this time I'm going to think about rooms, because that unit was about rooms in the house. This one comes from the Illustrated Dictionary from Ellie, and there's a lovely image there. And you've got the pictures too. But you know, there's another thing you can do here. When you're doing present continuous, you'll find a lot of scenes like this. We'll look at one in a moment in a restaurant or even in a street. I think I found one there. Instead of doing vocabulary, you could ask, you know, what they're doing. You say, look, there's a woman, she's wearing, well, what is she wearing? And then the students have to maybe write the chat, or they can speak if you give them opportunities to speak. She's wearing a yellow top. What is the little boy doing? The little boy on the floor, what's he doing? Well, you might get all sorts of answers. What is he doing? Can anyone tell me what he's doing on the floor? Sylvia, can you read out any answers? What's the boy doing on the floor?
Playing. Consuelo. She's the first one answering.
And what's he playing with? Can anyone see? Is he playing with a dog?
Sorry. Playing with the toys.
With his
playing
toys.
Cards.
Okay. Yep. So we got toys. So we pulled the word toys. The toys isn't there, but we pulled that. What color is the lamp? You could ask, and we know the color. Don't worry. But you see what I mean. This is how we get students to pay attention. And so we've got some present continuous there. There's someone who's reading a book. The two kids are watching TV, and so on. Now, if I take that page from the picture dictionary, I could ask the students maybe to do something similar at home. So I could maybe, well, maybe if you have the right situation, maybe you can see, but this is my living room. Okay? I don't know if you can see it, but I'm moving my camera around. So if you as a teacher want to share your room with the students, they can describe your room. What can you see in my room? TV, there's a lamp, there's a clock, there's a sofa, there's a complete mess. Or they could take photographs and send them to you with labels, because you've been teaching the vocabulary here. Maybe you could get some other words for things that they have which are not in the dictionary, and then they could maybe label them. I'll show you what I mean. I went upstairs to my bathroom and I took this picture of my sink, and I took a picture of our bathroom, which I cleaned before I took a picture, so that you think we're very tidy upstairs. And then I just put little labels on: shower, toilet, towel. Can you see those pictures of my bathroom and sink, Sylvia?
Yes, I can, perfectly.
Great. So what I've done there is, you know, there was a page there on the bedroom and the bathroom from the picture dictionary, and now I've put that together with some simple pictures. Again, teachers, you could simply ask the students to go home and do that. You know, find some examples and take photographs, preferably in this instance as a scene, like the whole bathroom or the whole living room, and then label it. I mean, the kids, teens, kids, with your help or probably on their own, they know how to put labels onto pictures. In other words, I want to really maybe create their own little visual dictionary based on their own house. And if I just take a look at this picture and go back to the unit, you can see the difference here. The course book is doing what course books have to do. They show language, they do grammar, they do vocab, they do questions, and then they personalize the language. But I, before, during, and after a lesson, would always come to something more simple and visual. Because look how you feel when you look at this picture and look at the opportunities to do work with the language, and maybe with more preparation, go back to that coursebook unit and feed in some of the language, the grammar, into the scenes that you find in all these picture books. And there are so many pages and so many scenes, and I'll show you the topics at the end, but they cover all the things you expect in a course book. So the idea is really to bring the two together. And if a picture dictionary is sitting on your classroom bookshelf, when we go back to normal, I go to so many schools and I see these, picture dictionaries lined up, and it just doesn't look like they're being used. And maybe because it's hard to get the students to use, the school might not want to buy so many picture dictionaries, but that's okay. If you buy one of these copies, there is a code, a unique code inside each of the books, the printed books, and this allows you to use a digital version and show pictures like this, or adapt them, or have the students adapt them. And I'll look at that too. So, for example, I can go into a bit more about routines. So now we're looking at routines. I looked up this page in Ellie's vocabulary in pictures. So when you come to the course book and it's, routines, always, sometimes, never, frequency, okay, then very often the course books don't do enough like this, where I just want to step away from the course book and isolate some of the expressions. The students might want to, maybe you could take away some of these and do this, where you just have a few of those pictures, and then the students have to practice talking about maybe what time they wake up and what they do next. Do they get washed? Do they have breakfast first and then they get washed? But they could say, I wake up in the morning at 7 o'clock and then I get washed, then I get dressed, and then usually I drink orange juice and I always eat breakfast, or I never eat breakfast, or I sometimes get washed, I occasionally have a shower. So, you have a chance there for students to talk about the present simple for routines and frequency. And of course, all these things are in a course book. Of course they are. But look how it feels when you are looking at that German page or the other course book pages in English. They look fine to you, but it can be quite overwhelming. And the other thing is, if there's too much on the page to look at, like a whole course book, the great thing about teaching remotely or teaching from the camera is I'm only showing you, the students, what I want you to see. If we were all in our classrooms back to normal and everybody's opened pages, the unit 7 on, routines, students you can't really be certain what they're looking at. It's very hard to keep their attention focused, but this way I can really draw them in. So that's how we can use pictures to really focus the language before we do any work in the course book. But the two go together for me. Picture dictionaries, visuals completely. But the great thing about a picture dictionary is all the pictures I need are there instead of looking online for different ones. Now we're going to look at something a bit more complicated, because I'm aware that there are adults, teachers of adults here in secondary looking for a bit more meat. So here's what I did from the Ellie Illustrated Dictionary. And I look at this and I'm thinking, okay, this is great. We can do a lot here. There's vocabulary. I can see it's about pastimes, playing games. So I see opportunities here to talk about all sorts of things, But it's not just a picture to teach vocabulary. That's not what I would want to do here. The first thing I think I would do is, again, be grateful that this is digital, because then I can hide things. I did this myself. This doesn't happen in the book, but it takes a few seconds to cut out just the scene. And then I can ask the students, maybe you could do this too, guys. I can't see right now, but maybe Sylvia, you could read out. I'd like to have some present continuous examples, please. Okay, with he and she and they. Can I have some examples, full sentences, please, in the chat or in the questions? He, she, or they, or use some nouns.
Give me a second, sorry. Okay, he is reading a book.
Yep.
She's taking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
They are dancing. She's going to the cinema. They are playing chess.
Okay.
The artist is drawing.
Mm-hmm.
A man is painting on the street.
Okay, great.
He's
you know, when
drawing a picture.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, it's only time moving quickly, but you get the idea. Get the students. You could maybe nominate some students to pick to choose things. Just whilst I'm here, I'm going to flick to something I found on the internet, which is really good. Let me just move to my browser. Can you see something here called click wheel to spin? Can you see my screen here?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Crystal clear.
Now, this will be in my slides, so don't worry, but this comes from, I just found it online from something called classtools.net, and it's called Random Name Picker. I won't explain how it works, but it's free, and you'll figure it out really quickly. But I was thinking it's a great way to get students to do things without you picking on everybody, because I can edit the names, all right? So I can make all these, these are my students, Sylvia, Andy, Peter, Liz, I don't know, Bob, and Sandra, okay? So imagine these are my students, and I can save this list. I give it a password. I'll call it Ellie. You have to remember your password if you're going to change these names again, all right? And when you click OK, it saves it, but can you see here, it saves a very particular website. That means that that particular URL, that website detail, will always bring up those particular names. In other words, you could make different wheels for different classes, so that when you have one, you can click the wheel. Whoops. And when you click the wheel, it'll come up in a second. Bear with me. When the wheel comes up, I just click on it and it chooses the names for me. Now, when you see this work, you'll see what I'm getting at about some other ideas for using pictures and online spinners, because in the classroom, it's hard to do that. So I'm going to click the wheel. And this time it's Sandra, all right? Sorry, I'll turn the sound off. You can have the sound on or off. If I click it again, you can see who came up this time, Sylvia. Could you see who got picked?
Sorry, there's a pop-up window. Was Sandra again? Sorry, it's just because there's a pop-up window on it over the wheel.
Tell me who got picked this time.
Oh, yourself.
Okay. Now, that's great, but this is what I did with, I'm just going to go and find, I found something here which is really cool. So if I have another spinner, which I can create, all right, I'm going to bring it up. Can you still see my screen, Sylvia? It says Google, yes, and now it's going to, all right. Yes. Well, guys, yes. Once you have access, it's free. If you go to classtools.net, random name picker, then you can do all sorts. You could make a dice, just with 6, or you can do something with 12 as if it were 12 dice, or I can make it with prepositions like this. So I made one with prepositions. All right. And then, so I've got I, and then I have to choose one of these scenes. Maybe you could put those expressions, go to the cinema, listen to music in your own spinner. So then you're combining pronouns with these expressions. In other words, and maybe you can combine it with the name picker. So it randomly picks a name, and then suddenly Bob has to answer. Then you have 2 more, which is they and or I, and then go to the cinema. So Bob has to say they are going to the cinema. Then you can make a spinning wheel which shows tenses. And what I've done, and I think I put it in the slide, but I'm happy to do it in the chat, is I've created lots of little mini wheels for prepositions, tenses, questions, and it's really cool for really taking something like this and doing something as if you had dice in the classroom. Because what you do then is bring a fun element of choice. You can get them to see the differences between play. I mean, you do crosswords, you don't play crosswords. You can play drafts, you can do a jigsaw puzzle, you don't play a jigsaw puzzle. And the students can do a survey of their favorite things here about using I like and I don't like and I love. So personally, if you want to know a little bit about me, I don't like playing cards. I never liked playing cards. I like chess. I like playing chess. I love to go to the cinema. Okay. I love listening to music. I don't know how to do DIY. Ask my wife. I'm hopeless. So there's a nice way to take something out of the course book I like and I don't like, and I love, whatever. And then you take in a scene, and maybe you can do it with food or pastimes here, or maybe sport. So maybe you can bring other topics from your course books and find the right scene or collection of vocabulary from the picture dictionaries. Now, as I move into the final part of the session, I'm going to show you how we can do other things with the digital book, which I'll show you live. Here's a scene from the restaurant. So much going on here, but possibly too much. So what I did was I clipped, by using a copy and paste tool, from the scene, I decided to adapt it. This could be too much for the students, okay? They might be worried that they have to remember everything. So fine. So let's just bring it down. So what I did there was I picked some pictures, all right, and I put them in a Word document. I think I put them in PowerPoint here for you. And I put letters A, B, C, D, E, F. And then I say to the students, well, I could make this hard or I could make it easy. The hard way is to say to the students, look at these pictures, work in groups or pairs with WhatsApp if you want, or in breakout rooms if you're using Zoom. Oops, that's my reminder. And ask the students to put those pictures, those letters, in the correct alphabetical order. So the students have to know what those, what the English words are, and then work together to decide which order the objects go in alphabetical order. Of course, you have to do a bit of thinking there. Does anyone, let's do this, okay? So I took the pictures from the picture dictionary. I chose a few. I made sure that pictures were very easy to identify. I don't think there's any problems here about what things are. And A, that's eggs, in case they're eggs, in case you're wondering what they are. So we've got A, B, C, D, E, F. Does anybody want to try and put in the order? Just show me the letters that show the order of alphabetical order of the objects here. So I'll help you, of course. We've got eggs, cheese, fish, chicken, ice cream, salad.
Yes, I've got a couple of teachers who guess the right answer.
What do we have?
So I got Ruth Lotero with cheese, chicken, eggs, fish, ice cream, salad, and turkey, and I don't know. And then I've got another one actually. This is interesting because she says cheese, eggs, fish, ice cream, salad, and turkey. Depending
Actually,
on,
yeah, actually, I made a mistake. I've just realised. I, I'm going to quickly cheat because I put ice cream at the bottom. I don't know what I was thinking there. Oh no, I have. No, I did the right thing. I was showing the names of things first, wasn't I? That's what I did. I'm too nice. I was putting all the words next to the letters first, and then of course, yeah, that's what somebody said. Ruth said that: cheese, chicken, eggs, fish, ice cream, and salad. And if you have all of those things together, what a special meal that would be, all on one plate. And students can choose their favorites, you know. Now that's quickly an example of taking what looks like a regular busy page, and I broke it right down into a manageable, fairly fun and short activity to focus them on spelling and vocabulary items there. Now, in the digital book of the Illustrated Dictionary, there is a wonderful thing here. I'm going to finish by showing you this. Every page in the Illustrated Dictionary, or Ellie's Illustrated Dictionaries, you have a double page like this, all right? And then the next page is always something like this, where you have a dialogue with exercises, interactive exercises, and the listening. You have extra vocabulary called a closer look. And then there's a really sweet thing there in every topic, which is called idioms. So you've got a little bit of natural English for things like to make a meal out of something, which is when you make too much work out of a particular task. To cut the air with a knife. Do you know that expression? When the atmosphere is tense with friends or family, and they said, "Oh, you could have cut the atmosphere with a knife." And then the bottom one there I like is to wake up and smell the coffee, to pay attention to what's really going on around you. So for the higher level students, I think that's really cool. Now, I'm going to quickly go to the digital book, and that'll be a way of exemplifying how that works. I'm in the digital book now, and if I click on the microphone icon, I can suddenly see a picture and I can see the dialogue. Can you see that, Sylvia, and everybody else?
yes, we can.
Right. Now, ordinarily, I can simply play this, okay?
Can I bring you anything else? Dessert? Coffee?
Just the bill, please.
Okay. So you had still water and white wine to drink, is that right?
So as the dialogue moves through the audio, it highlights in red. But the other great thing about digital is I can, over here, how can I show you? Okay, if I get my little pointer, down here, oops, I didn't want to, I've just seen a picture of myself, which is very alarming. Down at the bottom is what I mean. You can see, I hope you can see, the opportunity, where has it gone? I'm trying to bring my screen back, there you go. The opportunity to hide one of the characters. If I click the bottom right-hand corner, can you see I can choose waiter or customer? And I'm going to hide, let's hide the customer. Now, when I play, you can see that the text is slightly hidden, but enough to read. That's like listening karaoke. So the students can practice a little bit. They'll hear the waiter, and when it's time for the customer, you will hear nothing, and that is your turn to play. All right, so let's listen to what happens next.
I'm sorry. I hoped the head waiter had given you good advice.
Unfortunately not, and I don't want to pay for bad wine. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. I can take a little off the bill for you, okay?
Thank you. That's very kind.
Then you ordered a dish of spaghetti and some soup.
The soup was cold.
Cold? That's strange.
Anyway,
The chef
it's nice, huh? I like that. You can actually hide both, and then you can have students simply work in pairs together. Maybe they can work at home and record it together. You know, maybe they could have a WhatsApp call and one person can record it on a different device. I don't know, but there's always a way. You can also hide the script completely and only listen. Oops, hang on.
give us with another small discount?
Certainly. Thank you.
As a main.
So now you have simply a very difficult exercise with no text. So now, you know, in Cowle. So maybe you might want to play that before they read anything and see how much they understand. And it's all built around the vocabulary that they have from that first page, which is here in the restaurant. If I click on the words,
Cocktail.
I can hear
Coffee.
pronunciation.
Pizza. Eggs.
You see what I mean? And that's how it works. In the bottom left-hand corner, I can see all the different topics. There you go. And then the contents page will tell me all the different topics available in that book. So there you have at a glance. And this also will be sent to you in my PDFs of this slideshow, all the topics which are covered by both of those books. And the books we've looked at today have been Ellie's Illustrated Dictionary in English. And there are other languages too, if you teach other languages. And the other one was called Vocabulary in Pictures. Oops, can't spell vocabulary. I'm going to pick the one in English, and I open that book. It always works very quickly. Again, I can see the contents of this one. This is a slightly lower level, and it doesn't have dialogues, but just picture dictionaries. And again, you can see the typical vocabulary that you can link to the course book, and which, you know, with some creativity, you can do for grammar as well as vocabulary. All right, so let's pick one here. Let's say at breakfast. We were looking at eating earlier, weren't we? So there's the page on breakfast. As you can see, slightly simpler, a bit younger looking, that's fine. And then we could
Honey.
listen to
Teapot.
pronunciation. Okay. There's also interactive exercises where you can play, and then I have to match the activity, the object with the word. So I drag this here,
Oven.
I drag lid, incorrect, biscuits, okay, biscuits.
Biscuits.
I know they're cookies, but I'm British, so we say biscuits. Butter.
Butter.
And lid.
Lid.
And I'm an excellent student. And there's some more. And all of this is in the digital book. How do I get the digital book? If you buy the printed version of these lovely picture dictionaries, okay, in the front or the back, there is a code, and you put the code into the platform. The website at ellieonline.com will tell you how to do that, and then you have access to these resources. And if the students have a copy of the book, they can also do the same. So that's what they call the Be Smart platform, and I think it's fantastic. And you can be really creative by copying some of the vocabulary items and then working alongside the units of your course book. Here's another idea where I saw the dialogue here. Okay, you saw that dialogue earlier, and I copied it. I just copied the whole thing, and then I made little sentence strips. So now the students would have to work out the correct order as they listen to the conversation. You'll notice here I didn't do the whole conversation. That would be too difficult. I mean, if you cut this up into 50 lines, that's too hard. So I picked a little bit. The students can jumble them around, all right, or with you, order them in the correct order. And there, as I said, you can do a karaoke version with the listening. So the picture dictionaries, it's not just for vocabulary and for grammar, but now you can actually use them for dialogues or to reinforce the language that we've been doing in the course book. And that works on a platform called Be Smart. And the beautiful thing about BSmart's platform is that you can access the digital version of the books. And down here, can I just maybe make that bigger? You can add any of your own content to any of the pages. Maybe it's a PowerPoint, maybe it's your own pictures, maybe it's a recording, or maybe a video or links. The BSmart platform allows you to do much more with the book. It allows you to make it a custom version of the lessons you want to teach. So those are the topics we've mentioned. They cover all the basic ones we would expect from a course book, and all these slides will be available to you at the end of the session. Ellie has more picture dictionaries. If you just go to the website and put in dictionary or picture or vocabulary, you'll find everything there to suit your age groups and levels. And as I said, you know, Ellie is much more than an English language teaching publisher. You can teach and learn German with them, French, Italian, and Spanish. And in fact, there are readers now for Chinese and Russian. So if you want to learn a new language, you know where to go. There is a YouTube channel for Ellie. If you want to see videos by me and other colleagues talking about materials like this, go to YouTube and look at Ellie Multimedia, and you can see videos there. And there's quite a large collection of content for your for ideas and your teacher professional development. And on Facebook, you can follow Ellie at Ellie Publishing. Just go to Facebook, like the page, and follow the streams there, and it'll tell you all about new ideas. It'll has things about teaching. I work with Sylvia to post really useful links to help teachers out there in different situations with all sorts of content from around the internet, as well as telling you about new and upcoming webinars, not just by me on English, but other people who are coming up soon to give webinars on ELT, but also other languages. And I think that really is a good place to stop and maybe ask if there are questions I can answer before we finish in a few minutes. Just to finally say that you can always write to me here by emailing me or contacting Ellie there at international@ellieonline.com. If you have any questions, I'll ask Sylvia to read some out to me, and I'll stop sharing the screen, or try to, and see if I can help with any particular issues which have come up.
Thank you, Andy. I can actually see a question coming in from Sabina, I think from Italy. So she's asking, let me know when you're ready. I'll ask you.
I'm ready. I'm just looking for, I don't know what you can see right now.
Yeah. We can see your screen. You should just click on the screen icon.
Yeah, I know,
Go
and
to
I
webinar.
lost it. I temporarily lost it. I don't know.
Right.
Oh, okay. I found it again. Okay, here I am. Hello, everybody.
Good. Good. So,
Okay.
so Sabine is asking, do you think as teachers we must be very skilled to prepare a lesson like yours, like this one?
Actually, it takes practice, but I think with anything, if this is not something you normally do, try to remember why we're doing it. We're doing it because it's overwhelming just to go into a course book, and we don't know where they're looking. We don't know if they're reading the exercises or they're flicking ahead because they're worried about what's coming next. They know it's an English lesson, so they feel there's going to be questions. So I think what we need to do is just think about the lesson, the outcomes. What do we want them to do at the end of the lesson? And, you know, if it's about vocabulary, then we don't have to start with the course book. We can go in with a very simple approach and just use some pictures, which is kind of in our training. I mean, most teachers are trained to use pictures in creative ways. But what I have found is that even if you don't have a lot of experience, sooner or later you start to think, well, if I was in that class, I think they would struggle. You know, I think of my weakest student and think, well, maybe she's not going to manage that. I'm going to have to think of something that isn't in the course book. And I think if you've got a collection of pictures, you know, to choose from, well, that's quite a high level one. But if I go to maybe a low level book, you know, and I've got something there on food, I think you'll know that the students who might be feeling, especially at the moment, quite stressed, they might be thinking, well, that's actually this is quite a nice, easy start to my lesson. My teacher's showing me this. And you could do, I spy, or what's yellow, or, I went to the supermarket and I bought a melon. Okay, Mandy, your turn. Okay, I went to the supermarket, I bought a melon and a pineapple. And if you Google, using games, using visuals in the classroom, there are lots of free ideas out there. And all you have to do is you can email me, I'll send you them. And then you can look at the course books and the picture dictionaries and think, right, how can I adapt it? So it takes practice, but it's also just thinking, how can I help my weaker students? And then you work back from there. And I think visuals are the best way to do it, because then nobody's diving in the course book like it's a cold ocean, like we started at the beginning, or a cold swimming pool. It makes them feel supported, confident.
Thank you. I've got another couple of questions, if you're okay. So I've got from Violeta. Okay, is it acceptable to use mother tongue to explain something, for example, a difficult word? I'm not sure whether she means, to have someone, mother tongue in classroom, or like at a lecture.
Oh, I love that question, and I get asked that question a lot. Now, it sometimes is controversial, but I personally don't have a problem with teachers and students using their own mother tongue in the classroom within reason. And the reason, what I'm saying is, I know that there are many schools out there that have an English-only policy. In the classroom, you only speak English. I personally, from my experience as a student, because I was a student once upon a time, and as a teacher, I find that's just not realistic. Now, maybe teachers can disagree with me, that's fine, but I am always thinking about my weakest students and how I felt. Now, I became a language learner, and I didn't like English. I didn't like French and German at the beginning, but I was lucky that I started to like it. But whenever we only had to speak French and German, I felt frustrated because I wanted to offer more in the classroom than I could, because I wasn't allowed to use English to help. But look, for example, at the beginning, we did that thing about the beach. Think of the students who want to contribute, but they're not going to say anything if it's only in English. So why did I lift the lid, let them all come up for air and breathe? So they brainstorm in their local language all the things about the beach. Then they all feel relaxed. We've got more words kicking around the classroom. Everyone feels a little bit happier. And then we say, great, okay, so now back to English. So I personally find students are much more motivated and happier if they feel that they can come. It's like holding your breath. If you have 45 minutes in English and it's a foreign language, it's like holding your breath. So every now and again, we can speak our language. Okay, yes, teacher, this, good, boom. Because at the end of the day, we want them to enjoy English, learn English. And I think sometimes English only makes the whole job a lot harder. And frankly, if it helps me get the results, I'm going to do whatever I can. So I balance it personally. You can disagree, but I often wonder if those disagreements come from a school policy or evidence. That's my challenge.
Thank you, Andy. I've got another one from Art from Guadalajara in Mexico. So what's your view on using humor in classroom when teaching?
Is that Art from Art? Is that Art from Prulex? Is that you, my friend Art Frias?
Yes, I can see the surname, yes.
Art, my friend. Oh, I did wonder if I had any friends in the audience. That, man, so cool. What's the question?
Okay, the question is, what's your view on using humor in classroom when teaching in classroom?
Well, I don't know if okay, Art knows me very well. Art has run many conferences in Mexico where I've been privileged to turn up and use a lot of humor. As you know, Art, humor is a very important part of my life, and I often use it more than I should. But I think with a classroom of students, if I feel my humor is going to work, like I said, you do whatever it takes. If you are not a humorous person, and I know you are, Art, but if you are not a teacher with many jokes and humor, then don't try too hard. the students will find the humor for you. And I think if that's the case, I would love the way, especially teenagers, they get a hard time, but I think teachers, if you let the students be humorous with you, a little bit in their own language and then back to English, I think that's fine. But if you are willing to find humor, then I think that goes a long way in life. It's, you know, it doesn't mean I'm not a serious teacher. It doesn't mean I don't feel professional. If I show the teachers my human side, I can laugh at myself. I made mistakes today, and you just go, right, okay, got it wrong. But I still care that they learned. But I like the question because I know what Art is asking me there, because I did in Mexico a session on using jokes and humor in the classroom, and I would love to do one for Ellie on using humor. And by the way, you can use picture dictionaries to tell humorous stories or make fun. I mean, look at the crazy combinations you could do with pictures to get the students to tell you funny things. That's a great question, my friend. I wish I was there.
Thank you. Okay, I think that
I have more time if you do, so maybe 2 more questions.
okay, I've got another one then. So Manuela Manuela, sorry, I don't want to say the surname. So Manuela, possibly from Italy. How can children do activities like matching vocabulary or put into the correct order if they can't work on my screen? Any suggestions?
Well, I'm not sure if you meant working on the same screen. Okay, there are 2 scenarios. If you have a scenario where the students can have access to those little arrows, those pointy things on the screen, or maybe on the screen you have something here and here. You've got an object here, an object here, and the students have to do this with the technology. Then they can do pointing and matching here. If they can't, I suppose what you could do is send a screenshot to the WhatsApp channel to the students, and they can maybe do the drawing there. I match A to, maybe A goes with 5, maybe B goes with 2, and they can send you pictures of matching exercises there. That's a tricky one when we're working online. But if you talk to other teachers, if you Google, if you email me, if you contact Ellie, there is a lot of help out there on how to overcome the obstacles of what would otherwise be really easy and fun activities. But in an ideal situation, you've got pictures here, you've got letters, and you've got matching, and you give the controls over to a student, and they can show you there, and they can draw pictures around it. You can use, if you go to a platform called Padlet, that's Padlet, Padlet, one word, Padlet. It's free, or you can spend money on a wider use for the school. That allows you to do that kind of thing. Or Google Documents, maybe. You know, the students can collaborate there.
Yeah, there's a teacher who knows actually Padlet. She's saying she writes, she's great. So
Yeah.
she knows it.
Padlet is a fantastic way to do, for the students to share what they've done with what you give them, to maybe take pictures or send files, recordings, images, anything. Padlet's one of the most popular ones, and many platforms do have them built in. But have a look at Padlet, and that will allow you to overcome what might be something that you could do online on the screen, where you say to the student, like Art, my friend Art, it's your turn. Can you match the sentence here with the right one here? They're in 2 halves, and he can go on. You give him permission, and he draws the line, and you go, great, okay. Or students, do you agree? Is he right? Is he wrong? Art is always right. He's my boss in Mexico. One more question, and then I think I love this personally, but I think we have time for another question.
Okay, give me a second.
I don't know why I can't read mine. That's interesting. Okay. I've got my
No, I think this is it. Actually, I think that's all, Andy.
Really? Okay. I'm going to drink my cold tea. Well, I would like to say a big thank you to all of you. I'm going to maybe share my slide before I go with my contact details and the contact details for Ellie, who I work with a great deal. And keep an eye out for more webinars with me and other colleagues on ELT. And we're listening. So tell us what you need. What is it you're struggling with? What do we do? What can we do to help you? There is a lot out there, many webinars, many videos and blog posts. Watch the Facebook page with Ellie because we're putting up stuff there. But if you have specific things, then contact the people who sent you information to this webinar, and we will look at ways to help you. Maybe there were things today that I didn't make clear, or we could do another one on this. I mean, I could do things all day on pictures and things. So, you know, whatever you need, let's see what we can do to help each other. And a big thank you for all the hard work teachers are doing, because the parents now finally realize what a tough job it is to teach English or anything. And you have our full support, and anything I can do to help will be a privilege. I'm sharing my screen now, I hope, so that you can see my details before I go. And my email is there, and a contact for Ellie, international@ellieonline.com. Okay, I think that's it. My thanks to everybody. Take care, keep teaching, stay creative, drop me a line, and it was lovely to know that a couple of friends are out there. We'll see you soon.